Oh my God, I did not have the mic on for that whole thing. Man, I am losing it. Oh, okay. Man, I just went through such a long explanation and with a sore throat. Okay, so my apologies, guys. I did not realize that the mic was not turned on. Check, check, check. Okay. All right. So once again, I got a sore throat today, so I'm going to try to keep it talking to a minimum. You can hear it in my voice. It's really crackly. But we got a gap and go this morning, which is bullish. I mean, sorry, we have a gap this morning, which is bullish. I would expect the counter auction to the downside to fill the gap. Okay. If if we find support somewhere around yesterday's high, that is extremely bullish for continuation to the upside. If not, when the market gets down here into this node of volume, to me, I'm marking this as support because this should act as very, very strong support when the market sells down to this level. So I wouldn't necessarily try to short if we pull down into yesterday's range. I would wait and see what happens when we get to this area. If we find support in here, which we should, I would go long for continuation to the upside. As if this fails and we start to sell off, I would go short, but I wouldn't be expecting it to be a very big trade. It would just be a very quick short trade to the downside. Okay, so far this morning, the market is a gap and go scenario. Man, I'm so sorry that my mic wasn't recording. I literally described this as a potential. But anyway, so if this holds the gap and go, the target is the week all-time high, which is weak because every time we create an all-time high in the overnight market, it always gets repaired by the regular trading hours. Man, I'm so embarrassed I did not have my mic on. You guys just missed the best technical analysis on planet Earth. No, I'm just kidding. So the first thing that we're watching this morning is going to be the gap. Do they try to fill the gap? There's only 4 contracts at the low, so I do think we're going to need to pull back down into here. But they may go up and take out that all-time high first. Remember that when the market opens outside of the previous day's range, we don't necessarily expect chop. A lot of the times when you have a gap, if it's a gap and go where it doesn't backfill the gap, it just goes. It just takes off. So sometimes on days like this, you might have to take a little bit of a riskier entry just to get into a trade. So for example, if you were going to go long right here, you might only want to do like one MES contract, even if you normally trade the ES, because you'd have to put your stop down below yesterday's low. And you have to give it some space too. So you'd have to put it at like, 45.50, or sorry, 45.32, 75, somewhere in here. But that being said, I do think because of the bad taper at the low, we're likely to pull back down here and try to backfill this gap. Okay, no, it's definitely not COVID. It's just a sore throat. I'm not even like sick. I have not been able to kick it. All right, well, good morning, RK Leon and Harry. Good to see you guys. Rad is back with us. Good morning to you. Sanju, good morning. MK, good to see you. I cannot pronounce that person's name, but good morning to you. Anis, good morning to you. Amir, good to see you. A million people saying muted, no voice, muted, no voice. Man, I got to start watching the comments. The problem is I don't have my normal setup. Normally when I have my dual screens, this thing is up so I can see that the sound is going and I can see the comments at the same time. But now I'm looking at comments on my phone, so I just didn't look at it. "777 Athletic. He will be pissed off when he finds out I really am." I really did explain a lot. I went like in detail talking about everything. Oh well. The other thing worth mentioning is the daily candles. So remember, these daily candles, they are what longer term, bigger, deeper pockets traders are looking at most of the time. And so we're kind of just grinding right on this trend line, the upper end of a channel. So if we can break out, it could lead to a lot of excess to the upside. We could have a big push higher. But if we get pulled back down into this channel here, we're almost certainly going to need to go to the 20 moving average, which is about halfway. And if not, down there to the opposite end of the channel, which is right about where that 50 daily moving average is. So something just to keep in mind. Shouldn't distract you from taking day trades today. But if the market does end up pulling back down below here, that would be bearish. And if it can stay above this line, it should cause a breakout that gives us a push to the upside. Okay, so they're trying to fill that gap. Herman, good morning to you, Psy Worker. Good morning, Shubaho Deep. Arthur, good to see you. I should pretty much take away this, since anybody that goes back to watch the first 5 minutes is going to be so confused. You heard the subways flooded from the rain. Yeah, it was insane rain last night. We had like a tropical storm. It was nuts. I had my windows open, just a crack, and like tons of water came in. I woke up and was like, oh shit, all my stuff is wet. Great. NQ not that bullish? Let's take a look at the NQ. Yeah, I mean, they didn't open with a gap. Yeah, their overnight actually did most of its trading down here. So you're right, nowhere near as bullish as the ES this morning. But now that should act as very strong support. Just like that node where we spent most of the time and the volume yesterday in here, should definitely act as support. One thing I was saying, I don't know if you guys heard this part, but with the market profile, I find that when you have multiple things that converge at the exact same level, it becomes a really, really strong level. So we've got the POC, the halfback, and the biggest node of volume all right here, exactly at this 45.27 level. So that to me is going to be very strong support. Strong enough. I would be willing to literally just put a buy order in there with like a couple bucks worth of risk and just see what happens. Maybe even like put my stop at like 45, 26, 25. Like real tight stop, because I'd be willing to bet when it gets down there, it just bounces right off of it. But right now, we still got the gap and go. They backfilled that low volume a little bit. I don't love the 76 contracts at the low, but otherwise it's good taper. So gap and go is the most bullish scenario. Thank you so much, David, for smashing that like button. For the other 60 or so of you that didn't, what's the deal, yo? You don't like me? I'm just kidding. Please smash the like, the subscribe, and the notification bell. It helps the channel. The more the channel grows, the more free content I can make for you guys. Good morning to you, D. Okay, well, things are looking good here. So far, it's a gap and go. If this node of volume can hold, I'll get bullish. Let's jump back over to the queue. So as is kind of the way sometimes, it seems like the NQ is also rotating. It's also bouncing, but it's doing it in sort of more of a channel-y fashion. So we see this all the time where the ES kind of bounces almost in like a rectangle. You know, it kind of just bounces up and down in like a rectangular shape. And then the NQ in the same time will kind of do it in a channel-y way. That's what this feels like to me. There's tons of support in here. Let me get that drawing tool up. So all this volume in here, very, very strong support if the market were to pull back down into here. Okay, so I would definitely, if the market was finding support there, I'd be willing to go long for continuation of this sort of channel up that we're getting. All right, well, that node held, so I am bullish. Okay, so the all-time high is repaired. Obviously, very thin volume in here. But when it backfills, it could start presenting opportunities to enter along if you have not already. Using this node of volume as your potential stop. Right in here. Trading Donkey celebrating the new all-time high. Tom, good morning to you. Okay, internals looking good. Trading Donkey one time framing down the rest of the day would be glorious. It is possible, right? You repair that weak all-time high, and then the market is ready to flip it and reverse it, even on a bigger term scale, you know? The failed breakout pulls us all the way down here, but let's take it one step at a time. Right now, as long as that node that held earlier on in the day, see this, we created a bit of resistance, pushed through it, then came back down, and it acted as support. So now we would assume that this area is going to act as support again on the next pull down, which is happening right now. So if it can hold once again, that would be a good gap and go, and we would expect continuation to the upside. If it starts to get below these levels, down into here, then we know we probably need to fill that gap. Harry, profit target or resistance for ES? Well, we're literally in all-time highs, so there's no resistance above. It's blue skies, baby. As far as targets go, you guys know me, I don't pick targets to the upside when we're in all-time high territory. I instead watch the trend, right? If this is as bullish as it looks like it's going to be for me, obviously it's a little bit early. We're still in the first 30 minutes of the day. Oh, no. Da-da-dum-dum. All right, well, we're starting to lose our advancers versus decliners, and our ticks are starting to pull below the zero line. If you're wondering why I'm like, oh no, because the first this red candle. Oh, I'm sorry about the voice crack. This first red candle, I can accept that because the overnight inventory was 100%. Well, not 100%, but it was mostly long. So I expected us to need to absorb some of that with a pullback. But if we'd have kept pushing higher with green bars going up, we could have seen it as being pegged at higher prices. But now that it's starting to trend down, that is actually a bearish signal. Okay. Same thing with the ticks. If they were just pushing down, it would be okay. But the fact that they're getting below the zero line is a kind of a bearish signal. So all the weight is going to be on this node to hold it right here. If not, we're going to need to fill that gap and then look for support around yesterday's high. Doesn't look like it's going to hold. Shit. All of the above, man. Okay, we're just going to paint some little trees here. Look at those pretty little trees. Yeah, I was saying I went to sleep last night with my windows open because it was just like a light rain when I went to bed, and then I woke up in the middle of the night and there was like water everywhere. So yeah, we got some heavy rain last night. Still feeling bullish? Yeah, I'm gonna remain bullish as long as we stay like if we can trade down and we could do a little bit of bouncing around here, trying to find support around yesterday's high. And then if we get below that level, I won't even get bearish yet. I'll just because I really believe that this is going to act as strong support. You know? So I will wait to get bearish until we get below that level. But I would short below there. I just don't know how much further downside continuation you'll get. But I would go short to see. But yeah, so if we get below yesterday's high, I'll go back to neutral, sort of uncertain in this area, and then assume we're going to find support in here. But as long as we're staying above the gap, of course, I'm still bullish. These advancers versus decliners, though, are freaking me out. Chill out, ad. Chill out. Yeah, I don't know if it will be a balancing day. It could be, you know, if it were, it would probably be a pretty massive pullback because, you know, we can assume that like this is the balancing area in here, right? So that would be a look above and fail of the balancing area. So we would trade down to like the opposite end and then rotate. So I don't know. That's why I like to take things one step at a time. Let's see what happens if we hold the gap. Let's see what happens when we get at yesterday's high. Every trade should be risk reward to you, right? So if you're saying to yourself, well, Charles, I don't want to sit around and wait. I don't like doing that. I like to get in a trade. I want to get every dollar I can. Well, then, okay, short it, right? But then say to yourself, how much am I willing to lose? You know, where do I put my stop? How big of a position size do I take? What signal will tell me that I'm wrong? For me right now, there is no signal to go short here. There is, however, a signal to go long. We got the gap and go. We got the fact that we opened above the spike. We got the fact that we're breaking out of balance. We got the fact that we made a new all-time high. We just don't have the internals. But we've still got plenty of signals that the market wants to push higher today. How do I play the gap fill? I don't. So you're asking like, would I short now to just try to get to right here? No, I used to do stuff like that, and they're good trades, but I like to look for bigger moves now. I like to try to get into a trade that I can enter and sit in for like a couple of hours. I'm not looking to like try to grab a real quick buck here or there. It's just a stress thing. It's like, I don't like those super quick short-term trades. You put so much pressure on yourself, and then you're like sitting there freaking out like, is it going to work? Is it going to work? Is it going to work? I'd rather be patient and wait until I have certainty of the trade I'm getting in. I have confidence. Then I get into the trade, and then I just sit back and watch it and let it do what I think it's going to do. Great observation, Marco. Building volume above that overnight high. Value is higher. Yeah, see, now the NQ looks more bearish to me. Their value is barely, but it's overlapping to lower. It looks like as the B period tried to push higher, it found resistance right at the beginning of this node of volume. And their overnight was, most of the trade took place down here. So that was much less bullish than the ES. So it seems like the NQ might need a bit of a pullback. Yep, that's a great observation, Donkey. No exuberance at the all-time high. No piling on. The question is, will they buy the fucking dip? That is the question. Yeah, NQ starting to trade through its 20 moving average on the 15-minute candles. That is a little bit bearish to see. Oftentimes, if it pushes through to the downside, when it trades back up, that becomes resistance. Okay, poor low. Dump, 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 dump. All right, so as always, the way I look at markets is I'm balancing off a bunch of different ideas and asking myself, is it more bullish or bearish? So if we do start to trade lower here to repair this poor low immediately, that is more bearish because we normally get a push away from a poor low. And we will start one time framing lower, which is bearish. So there'll be a lot of weight to be put on this overnight high. I'm sorry, the high from yesterday. If that area can't hold right here, we're almost certainly trading down into this node of volume. There you go, one time framing lower. Don't have the internals. And so then you have to start getting worried about the look above and fail of the balancing area. So this is the area where they should find support and start trading back up. If they can't, they're heading down to this level down here at 45.27. Man, tricky read here. Ticks are holding up, and the NASDAQ was able to pull back above that 20 moving average. So donkey short with a stop above that big node. So risking this much to potentially make this much. So once again, NQ potential support is going to be right around 15,610. That area in there. Essentially the closing price of yesterday. Well, now it's bearish, guys. Look at the internals. Trending down below the zero line on the ticks. We found support the first time at the gap fill, but now we have not. So the target becomes the next major support at 45.27. Yeah, no, I'm still not trading with my futures account because, like I said, I'd have to pull it up on screen. But not this weekend, the following. I'm heading back to get my stuff and bring it here so then I can get back to doing that. Intraday, I have to choose. I either stream to you guys or I trade on my own. But yeah, I would be short here. Nicholas, keep holding SPY calls, or is it time to switch? That's all up to you and your strategy and the way that you trade. Um, looking at it over a longer term basis, as we talked about with this channel, if today during the day we do pull back down below inside this channel, okay, it increases the odds significantly that over the next few days we'll trade down at least to the 20 moving average, if not down to the opposite end of the channel, which perfectly lines up with the 50 moving average. Okay, and all you have to do is just look back, right? Look back at the way that this market's been. Stop it. What's happening? Um, whenever it gets up there and it tries to break the top of the channel and it fails, boom, it pulls down, right? This was actually not within the channel, but another pullback. And then up here, it tried to break out. It failed, pulled down. Grinds, 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 grinds. Can't break out, pulls down. So if we have another failed breakout to the upside, it just increases the odds that we have to pull back over the next few days. But we just don't know yet. That's the thing about the daily candles. You don't know until it closes at the end of the day. So perhaps a hedge. Philip, if you don't mind me asking, why be short both the NQ and the ES? Why not just take a larger trade in one of them? Man, tricky morning. They're holding up that zero line. Waiting for it to break. Yeah, Martin, right now they're holding up right there at that high. But the question is, what happens when it breaks? If they get just a few more ticks lower, a lot of the people who are buying here are going to have to exit their trades, which gives us a stronger pullback. This was a pump and dump morning. Yeah, I mean, pump and dump implies like, that it was like organized. This was just natural market behavior. Speculators got themselves a little too long. And what they hoped was when they got up to that all-time high, it would bring in new buyers. People would get so excited. Yay, new all-time highs. Pew, 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 pew. Take my money. Take it. Give me them ES contracts. That's what they were hoping for. But instead, they didn't get it. And so now the second wave of those traders are desperately trying to hold up yesterday's high. But you can see they're doing it within like a 3-tick radius. Right? They're just piling on right in here. And so that's short-term traders, that exactness. And the thing with short-term traders is if you just get a little bit lower, they're going to get squeezed. They're going to go, fuck it. And they're going to exit their trades. And then the market goes, boop. And then more people pile on, and then it just grinds its way down. So they can still find support here and push back up. But I don't trust it. Yep. Lambo incoming. Lambo to the moon. Do you see that? Do you see how the volume is building literally right at yesterday's high? That is not big traders doing that. That's you and me. That's retail. What are the two things, Philip? Arthur, nothing wrong with that. Taking a day off. I fully support that. So for those of you that are new to the channel and don't know what I'm talking about here, normally when you make a low, for it to be a good low, you get something called taper, where the volume kind of slowly fades off. The numbers get lower and lower. And the reason is because when bigger players buy, they ladder into their trades. They kind of put trades like this. And so it's like it fills, it fills, it fills, it fills. So when you get something like this, where you've got 6,000 contracts and then 800, you just know this was not bigger players piling in here, but shorter term retail traders. Now, there's nothing wrong with shorter term retail traders buying. The only problem is they can get squeezed very easily. So all these contracts in here, if they do get below here, will likely get squeezed, which gives you those little quick drops. That brings in more sellers who want to pile on. So it's just always something to be aware of. Who are the participants doing business at this level? Yeah, Arthur, that's an incredibly common thing. It happens to so many people. They have a big winning day, and then they feel like they can take more risk the next day, and then they have a losing day. And then they're frustrated because they had a losing day, so they try to revenge trade their way back the next day, and they have another losing day. It's all about managing emotions. Cinny Matt, I didn't realize it did that. That it uses your cash to store them. I didn't know that. Bummer. And Q near support. Yeah, there you go. Came right down to that POC from the overnight. To the tick and found support there. Okay, they're holding it up above that zero line. So the market hasn't quit just yet. Those short-term traders are so desperate to get back up to that all-time high. Arthur, that's why it's good to see after 1 hour how the market is. Yeah, I like to watch the market in that first hour, though, because it's often how it moves that gives you the indication for what it's doing. Damn, they're not making it easy. The internals are starting to turn around. Absolutely. Yeah, this node is now resistance. It was in the B period. Well, we're still in the B period. It was the last time we pushed up in the B period. And so some of these traders down here who went long, they're going to start taking their profits into this. And the question is, do new traders pile on for continuation to the upside? We'll see that in the ticks, which we are not. Yeah, but Donkey, the one time framing trade is right at where your stop would be. do you do you add another contract? Again, I'm assuming it's the smaller traders because of the way it traded, because it put in the volume right at the high, literally, to a tick. And that's just not what bigger traders do. They don't pile on all at one level. They're too big. If they did that, the market would instantly push higher, and then they wouldn't even get a fill for all their orders. I'm talking about people that trade hundreds of millions of dollars worth of contracts at a time. I'm working on a video right now about Paul Tudor Jones. And I found this documentary where it's like from the 80s where he's like trying to buy in the first 10 minutes of the day. And he's trying to buy about $100 million worth of futures contracts. And the price just keeps moving up. So he starts to sell his futures contracts just to pull price down a little bit and trick the short-term traders so that he can buy again. Like, these guys have too much size to just pile in all at one exact level. They can't do it. John. Uh, Man, we're going to print the C period right at the B period high. Dude, ticks are back up. Buyers are stepping in here. Okay. So now we can look at the one time framing to see, does the C period stay below the B period high? It can go one tick above, but if it goes two ticks above, that is the cessation of one time framing, which means there is no downtrend in the market. It is probably just rotational. We have also seen many, many times over the last 6 months or so where the market starts trending one direction through the B period and then turns and goes the other for the rest of the day. They did find support. And here's the thing about this being short-term weak hands traders. Like I said, it's okay that they do the buying. It just increases the odds that if the market gets below here, you're going to have a bigger sell-off. So this still counts as support at yesterday's high. All right, there's the cessation of one time framing. Yep, daily way back above that trend line. All right, well, I'm going to assume that this is a rotational day. But like I said, because I've seen so many times where the market just heads in one direction literally till the end of the B period and then it reverses the other way, I'm not going to be jumping into a short with much confidence in here, but instead waiting until I'm certain that we're seeing resistance. And also, if we get above this A period high, which is currently the all-time high, I will assume that we're starting a new trend higher. and look for the breakout there. Look for volume to build above that level. But anything underneath there that seems like resistance is likely shortable back to the POC. Martin, you nailed it. I summoned the power of FOMO. They did it. They won. Cindy Matt is calling it be down then up all day. It happens. This market loves a V. Freddie, welcome. We're glad to have you. Unfortunately, I'm about to leave right now and switch to the private stream. But come back tomorrow and ask all the questions. I'll explain to you what all this stuff is and how to read it. And I sometimes I forget, that there's new people. I'm so used to having the same group of people every day. I've told them all this stuff before. But just ask me some questions tomorrow, and I'll tell you everything so that you have a clear idea of what we're looking at here. To the rest of you, thank you so much. I will be back tomorrow morning. For now, I'm going to switch over to the private stream for the Brigade members. If you're interested in joining, it's $10 a month. There's a link in the description below. And you get access to the live stream for the full day. All right. Have a great day, everybody.